not interested.
The song goes like this.
Hi, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. Welcome to Trial and Error, where I play the first part of a game or a game demo, usually do that pretty badly, and give you my thoughts along the way. This time I'm taking a look at Cosmic Star Heroine. This game is supposedly inspired heavily by the game Chrono Trigger, which originally released on the Super Nintendo, which I played as soon as it came out and really enjoyed it. I was a big fan of JRPGs of that era. Over time, I've become less of a fan, in part because I discovered after Shadow Hearts, the Shadow Hearts series, that I really like to have some kind of dexterity level of engagement in my turn-based RPGs. I still love turn-based RPGs, but I either like some kind of dexterity engagement or I like the combat to be just a little bit more complex, you know, thinking about different weaknesses of enemies and status effects and stuff like that, instead of just kind of hammering the same button over and over and over again. So I like a little bit of complexity in my turn-based battles, or, you know, just speed too. Even if there's no like timed battle system or dexterity timing type element like you see in the Shadow Hearts games, if the combat just, you know, moves along quickly, like say in Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, you know, which really has the ability to move combat along fast, even though there is no timed element and it's strictly turn-based. I played I Am Setsuna, which was also very much inspired by Chrono Trigger. Although, honestly, I didn't finish that one, and I don't know that I will, because I just, and you can see this in my review of that game, toward the end of my main play session with it, the environments, the snowy environments, just kind of started all looking and feeling the same. I also couldn't quite get a handle on some of the combat systems, because they only presented tutorials for them once, and then they just kind of let you, you know, try and keep afloat. And I missed really the variety of locations and character types aesthetically. And so I'm hoping that Cosmic Star Heroine will really kind of jump in and save the day where I Am Setsuna kind of failed for me, with you know, Cosmic Star Heroine having what looks like a cool sci-fi setting and a variety of, you know, character looks and stuff and abilities. So anyway, I am very excited to see how much this evokes what I enjoyed most of Chrono Trigger and other games of that time period, and also interested to see kind of how it has learned from modern RPGs and just kind of what that mashup adds up to. Let's find out. Oh, cool. So they've got 4 difficulty options and you can change them in the middle of the game. That's awesome. You know, normally I go with the easiest difficulty setting, oftentimes even in RPGs, but I think I'm going to try this one right here, Heroine, because it says that in this version there's additional enemy abilities, and I love the varieties of monsters that you can fight in RPGs and finding out what their special moves are and stuff. So yeah, I don't want to miss out on additional enemy abilities. Unless I suck and die a lot, then I'll miss out on them and that'll be fine. Oh, and you can save any time. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Every JRPG should do that from now on. Save any time. I don't always have time for your big 2-hour dungeon. Ooh, interesting. So the longer the battles last, the more both you and the enemies can build up like these style points that make you and them more powerful. Wait, is this not an active time battle system? I don't see a clock going down. Is this strictly turn-based? Oh! I can't use my heal again? Wait, do you gain all your health back after a fight? I can't tell. The music and just the tone of the writing definitely has this kind of lighthearted feel to it, which oddly enough, I would hate if I was watching an anime. But something about this style and the limitations of the graphics and sound make it not annoying to me. I think something happened when they added voice acting to JRPGs, that suddenly the full-on cutesy, silly anime flavor was like there with gusto. And I was like, no, can't do that, you know. But when it's still just sprites and no voice acting, all the over-exaggerated qualities in the visuals and the character sprites movements and in the dialogue, it's not so overbearing. And it's actually, you know, just a little bit like, oh, cute, or whatever. It doesn't annoy me for whatever reason. Oh, cool, so if you build up enough style points, 50 on most difficulties, you can survive with negative HP in kind of a desperation mode. That's cool. And in desperation mode, you do more damage. Sweet. They just put a little note in there, don't forget to save. You can do that anytime in the menu. And I'm actually glad they did that, because I think by default, looking at a game that looks like this, I'm just kind of waiting for a save point to show up. Yeah, I like the cool little ability/spell animations. Okay, yeah, so you do get all your health back after a fight. You know, sometimes I actually prefer no voice acting in games, because I almost never play games for their stories, and so I prefer to just be able to kind of like read fast and fire through the dialogue, so I can keep track of the story enough to, you know, stay interested in the parts that interest me, if there are any. But I'm not like slogging through a bunch of performances of voice actors in a story I don't care at all about. But then on the flip side, some games, like say Pillars of Eternity, will use a lack of voice acting to just go nuts with the text-based story. And I also don't want to do a ton of reading, especially of prose and stuff when I'm playing a game. So like this is like the ultimate middle ground. No voice acting and just enough text to give me the dialogue really briefly and move the story along. And get me back into the gameplay, which is what I'm here for. Oh crap, I can't remember if my one character has already used her heal the whole group ability. Okay, so in the turn structure, it's like one character takes their turn, then you move on to the other. You can't, it's not like, say, in some RPGs where you decide what your entire party is doing, and then the whole thing plays out at once. If that were the case, then I could maybe backtrack after I cycle through turns to see what abilities are available to different characters. So tactically, there's a little less ability to zoom out and kind of take stock of all of my character's abilities. Oh, nice. Dang, that was close. Oh, no. Oh, crap. This Heroine difficulty is like every battle, every turn matters. I mean, it's definitely satisfying tactically. I'm wondering if I want to stay in this difficulty the whole time. Ouch, dang. The Agency of Peace and Intelligence. I work for the Agency of Peace and Intelligence. Interesting. So they keep the peace, but they also do like CIA type sneaky stuff? Or maybe they seek to have inner contentment through intellectual discourse. As usual, you're the only one on your team who bothered to turn in all your reports on time. I'm just doing my job. I appreciate your punctuality, I really do. Now if you could only talk some sense into your co-workers. Now that's an impossible mission if I ever heard one. That's how that line would be performed if we had voice actors and fully animated scenes. You don't want that. I don't want that. Nobody wants that. I don't know, maybe some people want that. I don't want that. Oh, beard! LCS, they should just call it the actual words, Loyalty Cleaning Sweep. Here we are risking our lives for the good of the planet, and yet our own agency doesn't trust us enough to leave our stuff alone. As long as you don't have anything questionable in your room, you should be fine. How should I know what they consider signs of disloyalty? Brenwyn seemed like a totally normal guy, and they executed him after the last LCS. Holy crap! We just have to fit in, can't stand out, be a model employee, or so help you, it's straight to the execution chamber. Holy crap, what kind of group do I work for? She says, I wasn't playing Cthulhu Saves the World, that's just my screensaver. I'm hard at work. And these are the guys that made the game Cthulhu Saves the World, which, based on my experience so far with this one, I might have to go back and check out. Hi Alyssa, just practicing my gunmancy chants here. Ammo beyond twilight, guns in the flow of time, I pledge myself to thee to destroy all that stand in our way. Pretty cool, huh? Very cool. Do you need to recite that every time you use gunmancy? Just in my head, thank goodness. Glad I don't have to constantly yell that stuff out in battle. Boy, that would get old fast. That's a nice little knock at Japanese RPGs with annoying voice acting in the battles. Ooh, what's going on with the text down there in the bottom right? Highly advanced despite the... It's reinforced with superior something. Yeah, they're gonna have to patch that. Wait, what's this alchemize business? Doubles power of next item... something, I don't know. Let's see, item up plus 5. Maybe doubles the power of next item use? They've got to patch that! Come on, guys! Alright, so I'm going to check out this area with terrorist activity going on. Terrorists that are saying that my organization is kind of like the root of all evil and stuff. I'm thinking that's probably the case based on my experience so far and some of the policies of my organization. So I'm thinking that at least my main character, maybe my whole group, is going to go rogue or something against the organization we work for. Oh, that's a cool ability. Envirohack effect changes depending on locale, huh? Cool. Yeah, see, this is the kind of, like, variety in character abilities and character designs and specialities and stuff that I really wanted in I Am Setsuna. And I'm liking, on this Heroine difficulty setting, just how, you know, it's important for me to think a little bit about every choice that I have to make. And yet I don't feel like I'm just, like, agonizing over every decision. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm digging these spell animations. Ow! Oh my gosh. This thing is way too tough. Oh, I think I got him though. There we go. Jeez. Oh, cool. So when your guy's knocked unconscious, he still gets experience after the fight. That's awesome. Let's not hurry. Let's save. That sounds really scary. I'm always interested by statements like this. She says, no, Chan's right, assuming that's how you pronounce that name. Whatever horrible things they might have done in the past, nobody deserves to bleed out alone in the jungle. Now, I think it's right for us to say that who am I to say who does deserve to bleed out in the jungle? I don't think we are the judges of who deserves to bleed out in the jungle. But neither do I think we should say nobody, no matter what they've done in the past, nobody deserves to bleed out alone in the jungle. I mean, what about the person who decides that it's fun to rape and torture little children? I'm not ready to definitively say that they don't deserve to bleed out alone in the jungle. Am I nitpicking? I mean, yeah, but my point is that, like, little phrases like that can, when used a lot or heard a lot, can just start, I think, developing in us some assumptions about justice that are not correct. We can assume that we have a clearer and more objective sense of what is truly just than we actually do. So I'm not coming down on this game for that. It's just an interesting example of this phenomenon in our culture, in our dialogue, in our just the things that we say without thinking about them. So, I mean, could you write this line to express the same idea, but in a way that does not presume to have this clear, perfect, and objective sense of justice? Yeah, I think you could say, no, Chan's right. What could they have possibly done to deserve bleeding out alone in the jungle? I think you can ask that question and kind of cry out in frustration, I don't understand this, and it bothers me. But at the same time, we're not being presumptuous. Alright, that was an overly deep dive into one little point. I just don't sense that this game is really trying to say a lot of philosophical things, so... but I like to play around with those kinds of things, talk about those kinds of things, so... I gotta grab them where I can find them with a game like this. Come on. Ugh. Crap. Ah! Oh! No! Oh, there he goes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I survived that. Oh my gosh. I thought I just had one last move, she was gonna do it and die. I can't believe I survived that. Okay, I am gonna dial the difficulty down just one, so that I don't have to quite think so hard and it's not quite so close in just typical random battles. Unless there's a way to grind, I wonder, can I leave an area and come back and the enemies will be respawned? That would be worth checking out. Yeah, bad guys do not seem to be respawning when I leave an area and come back to it. That's a little bit of a bummer, because I really like the option in RPGs to grind if I'm having trouble. Especially if I enjoy the combat in a game, which so far I'm enjoying the combat in this game, so grinding would be fun for me. I am not exactly sure where I'm supposed to be going right now, and there's no, like, quest log. I mean, I guess I'll do the whole JRPG thing of, hey, an event happened, now let's go back and talk to the same people again we've talked to, or try to open doors that wouldn't open before. Hey, like this one right here. I like the music. I feel like it really helps to create varied atmospheres for the different locations. Really, really nice. Dang, are these like blood smears all over the place? Holy crap! The floor is covered with blood, quite possibly from someone named Chris. What? I like the treasure chests that you can find. There's plenty of treasure chests around to encourage exploration, which I really appreciate exploration being rewarded. So yeah, this is scratching the kinds of itches that I wanted to scratch for, you know, a callback to JRPGs of old. Ooh, I smell a big old boss fight coming. Look at this big open room. Oof. Oh, nice. Oh, ow. Oh boy. Yeah! Oh, lots of bad guys. That's a cool concept, like these rogue robots are reanimating the dead bodies of local monsters. That's cool. A peaceful species when they aren't reanimated corpses. Nice! Nice. I never seem to finish any of the RPGs I buy. Maybe on my next vacation. Huh. The Luminous Project has the ability to heal the human mind. The taboos that bind us will be shattered. The taboos that bind us, what could he mean? Yeah, good question. I'm very curious. Oh, okay, so Dave's telling us he must be referring to the Mental Autonomy Act. No technology will be made that infringes on an individual's right to freedom of thought. Mind control? Exactly, total control of another's mind. I think that speaks a little bit to kind of a very popular part of our value system today, and that is that we want to have choice. We want to have freedom. We really uphold that freedom of choice as a huge thing. What often does not come with the proclamation of that as a value is the recognition that choices come with consequences. What we really want is choice without negative consequence. Okay, so the villain says, I shall create a better world for humanity. The evil within men's hearts will be eradicated. Peace and intelligence shall prevail. So what we've got here is free will being pitted against the desire for evil to be removed. This is super common to see somebody that's like wants to see evil removed, and their solution for it is to like take away free will. We see the same thing going on in the Assassin's Creed story, and then the good guys are like, no, free will's better, you know. And I wonder kind of like how this whole trope got started in fiction. Is this written from the perspective of someone who on a conscious or subconscious level sees religious organizations or governmental organizations or anybody that's wanting to place moral authority or responsibility over anybody else, you know, have they maybe felt like that is like a villainous thing? Do they feel maybe oppressed by that? And I don't know, I feel like these are such extremes that, you know, they don't really result in an interesting conversation. Because on the one side, you've just got like, free will, let us do what we want, you know, and there's no talk of any kind of restrictions or care given to the choices that we make. And then the bad guys, they're really over on the other side, they're like, take away freedom for the sake of morality, which is also so extreme. And so I feel like these views, because they're so extreme, their conflict with each other doesn't really lend itself to any kind of deeper thought about the issues of free will and the nature of evil. What I think we see in the Bible is that God wants to change our heart, not take away our free will, but He wants to change our heart so that we will desire the right things and we will freely choose the right things. But we still have the choice to allow God to change our hearts and to show us the beauty of good. If we don't even allow Him to shape our hearts, well then, we certainly retain our freedom, but we lose the potential to be really all that God has created us to be. Creatures who reflect His love and His goodness. Instead, we just kind of obstinately stick to our own standards of what we call love and what we call goodness. So yeah, I appreciate that we've got an issue here between free will and evil. And there's a relationship, there's a connection there that we have to deal with. But the solution isn't to polarize those two and make them so extreme that there's really nothing to be gained from it. I mean, what that polarization does in stories like this is err on the side of choosing freedom and rejecting the idea of any kind of moral responsibility on our part. Now, we'll see, maybe that will change as the characters explore, the mind control issue and evil and stuff like that. I hope that it does. But many times in stories like these, that isn't explored. And, in a story like this one that is designed to harken back to a more simplistic time of JRPGs, I'm not expecting it to do that. I'm not expecting it to really go into the complexities of the issue of free will and the nature of evil. And yet at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, why even touch on it then, if it's not going to be in a medium that is really going to go anywhere deep with it or anywhere interesting or thought-provoking with it. And maybe the reason they touch on it is just because, it's a trope. And in the minds of the writers here, they're just playing around with these kind of cheesy, overly simplified tropes. And that's fine. Okay, so I've spent well over 3 hours with the game. I normally might spend more time before giving my initial thoughts when playing an RPG, but I get the feeling that maybe this game is only about 15 to 20 hours long. So I feel like I'm deep enough into it to kind of give just some opening thoughts, I guess, and impressions. I'm enjoying it. I feel like I'm connecting with the gameplay a lot more than I did with I Am Setsuna. I'm not connecting with the characters as much as, say, like Chrono Trigger, but some of that may be nostalgia, to be honest. I might be remembering that through rose-colored lenses. I'm not sure if it's the lack of an active time battle system where, time is progressing in the middle of a battle, or if it's the lack of some kind of dexterity element. But there's something about the turn-based combat that is not always... It's not keeping me hooked for a long stretch. So I can see myself sitting down and enjoying this gameplay for about 30 to 45 minutes at a time. I'm not sure that this would be the kind of game that, in a long stretch of an entire evening of gaming, 2 hours or something, that I would just play this game for that long of a stretch. I don't know. I really like the world, and, despite the fact that it's, an older graphical style, I think visually it's a lot more interesting than I Am Setsuna. There's a lot more variety going on. I think the sci-fi setting also helps as well, because you don't see that as often in RPGs in general compared to fantasy. The characters are also fairly visually distinct. It would be cool if there were a few more outlandish differences, like if one of your guys was like a cyborg or a robot or something. But their ability sets, I think, stand out and kind of set them apart from each other almost from the very beginning, which is really nice. I'm enjoying the enemy types. I love this idea of robots combining with dead monsters to reanimate their corpses and stuff. That's very cool. I'm interested to see where they'll go with the whole theme of, rebelling against authority, which the main characters are going rogue from their authority that they work under, and they're asserting free will and making that their battle cry when up against an enemy who wants to eradicate evil. Isn't that interesting? I mean, I think in the classic story, it's the villain who wants to just do whatever he wants to do. He wants to express his freedom. And the heroes are the ones that want to uphold morality and goodness and justice, and they want to eradicate evil. There was a time long ago when kind of switching those two was a novel concept, but now it's done so frequently, it's just kind of like noise that's not really saying anything interesting to me, except perhaps providing a sense of where our culture is at in valuing freedom more than we do good and justice and the eradication of evil. Again, I'm not saying that it is man's responsibility to eradicate all evil, but I think there's a good conversation worth having about the relationship between freedom and evil, that when we keep those two attached to such extreme views, they don't really allow for the kind of good conversation that could come out of that. I like the music. It does a great job of kind of setting the mood in each location and in the different circumstances that the characters find themselves in. I like the writing, it doesn't often really make me laugh, but it's clever and surprising in a few instances. Playing around with geek culture. It's a game that, seems to know its audience and the interests of its audience, and it has fun with those things. I really appreciate that it lets me save anytime that I want. But I don't see any other ways so far that it's significantly revolutionizing the way JRPGs are played. And that's fine, it's great for what it is, and I definitely see myself finishing this one. I'm just not sure how quickly that will happen and how long my playtime stretches will be with this game when I sit down to play it. But for however long those play sessions are, I think I will enjoy myself. Alright, those are my thoughts. I'd love to get yours in the comments below. Go over to spiritblade.com to check out our weekly podcast and our audio dramas there. Then I hope you'll join us at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth.